Hello, friends. I'm Jackie Eicher, and I'm here to bring a message for children, specifically those I know at First Congregational United Church of Christ in Corvallis. And I have started in the way that I do, which is to light a candle and say these words as my feet are on the ground, reminding me that I don't need to go anywhere else. I am breathing in God's love. I am a beloved child of God. And the hope is that you are also saying those words because you are a beloved child of God. I'm moving the candle over for now because I have some papers to use. Today, we are talking about a chapter from Exodus, the second book of the Bible. This is a very old text. And this is about Moses and the Israelite people who were fleeing from the Egyptians. They were fleeing from the ones in power. Here is a paraphrase of that text. After the Israelites escaped from Egypt, they saw the Egyptians chasing them. They reached the Red Sea and were unable to cross. The Israelites cried out to the Lord in fear. The Lord told Moses, "Tell the people to get going. And Moses, I want you to lift your shepherd's rod over the Red Sea. I am going to protect you and your people, and both you and the Egyptians will see my power." When Moses stretched his rod over the sea, the Lord pushed the sea back with a strong wind. The waters split, forming two big walls, and the Israelites walked through on dry land. The Egyptians chased after the Israelites, but their chariot wheels jammed and they panicked. "The Lord is fighting for the Israelites," the Egyptians cried as they turned around. The Lord said to Moses, "Stretch your hand back over the sea so the water returns and covers the Egyptians." When Moses did this, the walls of water came crashing down and covered the Egyptians. The Lord rescued Israel from the Egyptians that day. Israel saw the Lord's amazing power and was in awe. The Israelites' trust in the Lord and in Moses grew that day. Some of you may have heard that story before, but if you're like some of them, the young ones today, they said they had not heard that story before. So here are some questions that I will ask you whether or not you've seen or heard that story before. What in the story is awesome to you? What in the story did you hear that fills you with awe? For myself, every time I hear that story, it is the idea of a wall of water on either side. As I walk through that, I think I would be really fearful. And the Israelite people had a lot of trust to start with in God and in Moses. But I'm sure it was tested that day as they walked past the wall of water. And from this story, how would you describe God? I would describe God as powerful in this story, trustworthy, I'm curious what words you would use to describe God. What do you think it would have been like to be an Israelite in this story? Maybe depends on at what point in the story you are an Israelite. Because during the story, they go from being chased and someone trying to kill them, a group of people trying to kill them, to asking God for help, to seeing the awesome power of God, and then to see God make it so they would not be killed. So at times there's rejoicing if you're an Israelite. At times there's fear and questioning. How can we ask? I'm bringing this to us today. How can we ask for God to help when we need it? I know the times that I feel like I'm really asking God for help are the times when I'm quiet and not doing other things. Describe a time when you needed God's help. If you can, remember how it felt to ask for God's help. And if you can remember what happened. I remember specifically one time when I was really, really in need of God's help. And I went to the ocean and I heard the waves come up and go out and come up and go out. And I thought to myself that I could put my worries out on the sand and God would take them with the waves that went out. And that is probably one of the main memorable times that I was asking for help from God, and I felt like God was answering with each wave of the ocean. I'm really curious about what you have to say about that. Another visual aid I have for you, and I will be mailing these, they're backward, story cards. The Lord parted the Red Sea into 2 walls of water. This helps me think about what it might have been like. The Israelites walked through on dry ground. They knew the Egyptians were following them. The Lord brought the water back down so the Egyptians could not reach them. To me, that feels like it might resemble a tsunami. And the Israelites were amazed at the Lord and how the Lord helped them. I'll be sending those, and you can retell that story using those story cards. I have one more thing to share with you today, and that is from a book I got for the church, Holy Troublemakers and Unconventional Saints. There is a woman in American history that was known as the Moses of her people, the one who led the people who were in danger of being killed into freedom and safety. And that, you might have guessed, you might not, is Harriet Tubman. She was 9 years old in 1828, and she was in charge of babysitting for the owner of the plantation's child. And if that baby cried, she was the one who got whipped. It was her fault, according to the landowner. She had already done a lot of work, and now she was also babysitting. And she sings and rocks the baby. Harriet Tubman is this girl, and her grandmother was kidnapped from her home in West Africa and endured the long trip across the Atlantic Ocean in the bottom of a ship. Being blamed, as she cares for this baby, being blamed meant she would be whipped by the plantation owner, the mother of the baby. And one morning, Mary whipped Harriet 5 times before breakfast, and Harriet still remembers that at this time in the history, which is 1828. She knew that this wasn't right. Harriet knew this wasn't right. She knew deep down that it was wrong for her family to be forced to work for free every day of their lives. Their family lived in fear of violence and had little to eat. And they knew that At any point, they could be sold and moved away and separated from their families. Harriet became known for, as she grew up, leading the Underground Railroad, in which there were houses set up for slaves, Black people, to escape to, and they would be protected there as they moved on into areas of our country that were safe for slaves. There's a lot more to this story. And I encourage you to learn more about Harriet Tubman. I think that I will read this story on a recording soon so that you could tune in anytime you want and listen to the story of Harriet Tubman. For now, I'm going to put it away and we will say a prayer. Awesome God, you've come through for us and helped us in amazing ways before. You see paths we cannot see. We feel hope knowing all things are possible for you. Amen. Here's the candle. James informed me today that it's really not possible for them to blow the candle out through the computer, but we like to pretend still. So if you want to pretend, you can help me blow this candle out. 1, 2, 3. I have to be careful because last week when I blew the candle out, the wax went everywhere across my desk. So I'm being careful now. And look for that story. I'll try to send it to somewhere online later this week. Until then, my friends, I am happy you joined me. I'm always happy to see you on Sunday morning if you can be there at 9 for Sunday school. And I'm going to be so, so happy when I can see you in person. You are a beloved child of God.